Invite your friends and family.
It's DJ Kelly in the morning on UMERADIO. Inspiration, news, trends, and lots of music. It's DJ Kelly in the morning.
Radio.
So we're still looking at frequently requested statistics on immigrants and immigration in the United States. Refugees and asylum seekers. Let's look at that. So let me just share these notes first. Notes on refugees and asylees. What is the difference between a refugee and an asylee in the United States? The main difference is the person's location at the time of application, right? So it's your location at the time of your application. Refugees are nearly always outside of the United States when they are considered for resettlement, whereas asylum seekers submit their applications while physically present in or at a port of entry to the United States. Asylum seekers can submit an asylum request either affirmatively or defensively. The affirmative asylum process applies to persons who initially file an asylum application with USCIS, as well as applicants who subsequently have their application referred by USCIS to the Executive Office for Immigration Review, EOIR. The defensive asylum process applies to persons in removal proceedings who appear before EOIR and people who apply for asylum at U.S. borders and point of entry. So the first question, the first most frequent request is based on this for refugees and asylum seekers. The first question is, how many refugees entered the United States and where are they from? Every year, the President, in consultation with Congress, sets the annual refugee admissions ceiling and allocation by region of origin. For FY 2019, the annual ceiling was set at 30,000, the largest since the program began in 1980. In FY 2018, 22,491 refugees were resettled in the United States, amounting to less than half of the admission ceiling of 45,000 allocated for that year, largely due to processing delays and policies put in place to increase vetting of refugees. This represents 58% drop compared to the 53,715 admitted in 2017. 2018 marked the first time the United States lost its top position as the leader in global refugee resettlement in favor of Canada, which resettled about 28,000 refugees. The Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, Myanmar, also known as Burma, Ukraine, Bhutan, and Eritrea were the primary countries of nationality for refugees resettled in the United States, accounting for 78%. That is 17,566 of all refugees resettled in 2018. Isn't that interesting? Because aren't some of these countries on the list where the ban happened? I know Eritrea was on it, and I think Myanmar. You should go check it out. Go to umepress.com, umepress.com, and the stories are there, and you'll see. Rounding out the top 10 were Afghanistan, El Salvador, Pakistan, Russia, and Ethiopia. Together, nationals of the top 10 countries comprised 90%, 20,349 of all refugee arrivals in 2018. Interesting. So, next question is, how many asylum applications were filed and where are asylum seekers from? In FY 2018, an estimated 106,147 affirmative asylum applications were received by U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services, USCIS, 25% fewer than the 141,695 in FY 2017. This is the first decline in application volume after 8 years of growth. Applicants for affirmative asylum must be present in the United States and do not include those seeking asylum through the defensive asylum process while in removal proceedings. Venezuela was the top country of origin for received affirmative asylum applications, with 28,485 in FY 2018, followed by Guatemala, 10,177, El Salvador, 9,157, China, 8,114, and Mexico, 6,636. Meanwhile, 111,887 defensive asylum applications were filed with the Department of Justice's immigration court system, known as the Executive Office for Immigration Review, EOIR, in FY 2018, an 8% decrease from 121,418 applications filed a year earlier. What is the asylum approval rate? According to USCIS, in FY 2018, 30% of affirmative asylum adjudicated petitions were approved, a decline from the 43% in FY 2016 and 37% in FY 2017. 43% in FY 2016, sorry. The same downward trend also applies to asylum petitions adjudicated by immigration courts. In FY 2018, 33% of such petitions were approved versus 43% in FY 2016 and 37% in FY 2017. How many people received asylum status? According to the most recent data at the time of this writing, and that was March 14, 2019, in FY 2017, 26,568 individuals, including principal applicants and their spouses and or unmarried children under age 21, were granted asylum after seeking protection upon or after arrival in the United States, up from 20,340 a year earlier. An additional 7,566 individuals, both residing inside and outside the United States, were approved for derivative status as immediate family members of principal asylum applicants. Please note that this number reflects travel documents issued to the 3,831 family members residing abroad, not their actual arrival in the United States. China was the top country of origin for those receiving asylum, and with 5,548 persons, or 21% of total asylum grants. The next four largest countries of origin were El Salvador, 3,469, Guatemala, 2,963, Honduras, 2,048, and Egypt, 1,162. Together, nationals of these five countries made up 57% of those receiving asylum in FY 2017. What is the current backlog of asylum applicants? Due to the large application volume and limited resources, both the affirmative and defensive asylum system have extensive backlogs. At the end of January 2019, according to USCIS, there was 352,277 affirmative cases pending. EOIR reported 821,726 total immigration cases pending, of which MPI estimated roughly 30% were defensive asylum ones. Now on to unauthorized immigrants. How many unauthorized immigrants are in the United States? The Migration Policy Institute, MPI, estimated 11.3 million unauthorized immigrants resided in the United States in 2016. About half of all unauthorized immigrants resided in three states: California, 27%, Texas, 14%, and New York, 8%. The vast majority, 82%, lived in 174 countries with 10,000 or more unauthorized immigrants each, of which the top five, Los Angeles County, CA, Harris County, Texas, Cook County, Illinois, Orange County, California, and Queens County, New York, accounted for 20% of all unauthorized immigrants. Where are unauthorized immigrants from? Mexicans and Central Americans are estimated to account for roughly 2/3, 60% or 7.6 million of the unauthorized immigrants in the United States as of 2012 to 2016. MPI estimates about 1.8 million or 16% were from Asia, 685,000 or 6% from South America, 579,000 or 5% from Europe, Canada or Oceania, 351,000 or 3% from the Caribbean, and 318,000 or 3% from Africa. How many unauthorized immigrants live with children under the age of 18? As of 2012 to 2016, about 4 million of unauthorized immigrants, 37% of the overall unauthorized population ages 15 and older, lived with one or more children under age 18, MPI estimates. Of this group, about 82% or 3.3 million resided with at least one U.S. citizen child under age 18, and 17%, that is 697,000, live with only non-U.S. citizen children. Next question, how many children under age 18 live with at least one unauthorized immigrant parent? Approximately 5.1 million children under age 18 lived with an unauthorized immigrant parent during the 2012 to 2016 period, representing 7% of the U.S. child population. About 80% or 4.1 million of these children were U.S. citizens. Another 16% or 809,000 were themselves authorized, and 3% or 167,000 were legally present, including LPRs and those with temporary visas. How many people were eligible for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, that's DACA, program, and how many applications have been received since its launch in 2012? The DACA program, announced on June 15, 2012, offered a 2-year grant of deportation relief and work authorization to eligible young unauthorized immigrants. Requirements for eligibility included being at least 15 years old, having entered the United States before the age of 16, having continuously resided in the United States since June 15, 2007, being enrolled in school, having earned a high school diploma or its equivalent, or being an honorably discharged veteran, and having not been convicted of a felony, significant misdemeanor, or 3 or more misdemeanors, or otherwise posing a threat to public safety or national security. MPI estimates that as of 2018, approximately 1.3 million people met all criteria to apply under the original DACA program. 408,000 met all criteria except for education, and 120,000 would be eligible upon returning 15, provided they remain in school. However, on September 5, 2017, the Trump administration announced the rescission of DACA with a 6-month wind down. This decision has been challenged in multiple federal courts, and a nationwide injunction has kept the DACA program in place, but only for people who currently have or in the past have had DACA benefits. Between August 15, 2012, when USCIS began accepting applications, the September 30, 2018, the most recent data available at the time of this writing, 908,755 initial applications were accepted for consideration. Thus, as of September 30, 2018, about 70% of the immediately eligible population had applied. USCIS approved 823,000 283 or 91% of these initial applications. 79,763 or 9% were denied, and the remainder were pending. How many unauthorized immigrants were active participants in the program? As of August 30, 2018, according to most recent data from USCIS, 699,350 individuals were current DACA recipients. MPI estimates that 54% of the immediately eligible population as of 2018 were participating in the program. The top states of residence for DACA active participants were California 29%, Texas 16%, Illinois and New York about 5% each, followed by Florida, Arizona, and North Carolina about 4% each. The top countries of origin of active DACA program participants were Mexico 80%, El Salvador 4%, Guatemala 3%, Honduras 2%, and Peru and South Korea 1%. How many people are covered by temporary protected status? Since the enactment of the Immigration Act in 1990, the United States has occasionally granted a form of humanitarian relief called temporary protected status, TPS, when the home countries of foreign nationals in the United States experienced natural disasters, armed conflicts, or other circumstances making return unsafe. TPS offers work authorization and protection from deportation for a 6 to 18 months period. The first country to be designated for TPS was El Salvador in 1990 to protect Salvadorians who had fled the country's civil war since 1990. 22 countries have been designated for TPS. 10 countries currently are designated: El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, Somalia, Sudan, South Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. TPS protects nearly 318,000 people from 10 countries, with the largest groups from Salvadorans, the largest group being Salvadorans, 195,000, Hondurans, 57,000, and Haitians, 46,000. The Trump administration has announced that it will not extend TPS for immigrants from Sudan, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Haiti, Nepal, and Honduras when those designations expire. As a result, 98% of grantees could lose permission to work and protection from deportation. With the Haitian designation originally set to end on July 22, 2019, the Salvadoran won on September 9, 2019, and for Honduras on January 5, 2020. How many unaccompanied children and families have been apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border? This is interesting. Apprehensions at the southwest border grew significantly in the first 5 months of FY 2019 due to the increase in families seeking asylum. Between October 2018 and February 2019, the most recent period for which data are available, the U.S. Border Patrol apprehended more than 136,000 minor children and adults traveling as family units and about 27,000 unaccompanied children along the southwest border. This represents a significant uptick over the 107,200 family units and 50,000 unaccompanied children apprehended in all of FY 2018. These children families are primarily from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Immigration enforcement. Note, the government fiscal year runs from October 1 to September 30. All figures for immigration control and enforcement given here are for the fiscal year. The data presented here are the most recent offered by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. How many apprehensions of unauthorized immigrants occur at the border annually? CBP reported a total of 404,142 apprehensions at both southern and northern borders in 2018, a significant increase from 310,531 in 2017, and closer to the 415,816 apprehensions in 2016. 98% of Border Patrol apprehensions in 2018 occurred along the southwest border. While apprehensions were up in 2018, they remained a small share of the 1.6 million that occurred during the peak year of 2000. How many people are arrested by ICE within the United States yearly? ICE made 158,581 administrative arrests in 2018, up 11% from a year earlier. An administrative arrest is the arrest of an individual for a civil violation or U.S. immigration law, which is subsequently adjudicated by an immigration judge or through other administrative processes. How many people are deported per year? Removals and returns result in the confirmed movement of inadmissible or deportable aliens out of the United States. Both ICE and CBP conduct removals and returns. Nearly 400,000 removals and returns were carried out in 2017, a decline from 440,000 in 2016. There were 295,364 removals during 2017, representing 75% of the enforcement activity, and 100,754 returns. The removals total represents a drop from the 333,592 removals carried out in 2016. At the same time, the number of returns fell to the lowest level since 1965. By comparison, there were roughly 1 million returns in 2006, as the government has prioritized using the more formal sanction of removal, which carries greater consequences than return in the migrant attempts retry. And in naturalization trends, how many immigrants are naturalized citizens? In 2017, 22 million immigrants were naturalized U.S. citizens, accounting for 49% of the total foreign-born population, 45.5 million, and almost 7% of the U.S. population, 325.7 million, according to ACS estimates. Of the 22 million naturalized citizens, 27% were naturalized between 2010 and 2017, 31% between 2000 and 2009, and 42% prior to 2000. How many immigrants become U.S. citizens annually? USCIS naturalized 707,000 LPRs in 2017. The total number of immigrants receiving U.S. citizens decreased by 6% from 753,000 in 2016, even though the number of petitions filed increased from 972,000 in 2016 to 987,000 in 2017. The decrease in naturalizations granted is a combination of factors, including longer processing time due to higher demand, 8.1 months in 2017, and applications denials, 83,000 in 2017. How many foreign nationals become U.S. citizens through military naturalization? In 2017, 6,900 foreign-born military personnel naturalized as U.S. citizens, a 23% drop from 2016, when 8,900 military personnel became Americans. Since 2002, 100 foreign-born military personnel naturalized on U.S. soil. Another 11,500 became citizens overseas or aboard Navy ships. Where are newly naturalized citizens from? Of those who naturalized in 2017, 17% were born in Mexico, that's 119,000, roughly 7% in India, 51,002, and 5% each in China, 38,000, and the Philippines, 37,000. Immigrants from these four countries, together with those from the Dominican Republic, 30,000, Cuba, 26,000, Vietnam, 19,000, El Salvador, 17,000, Colombia, 16,000, and Jamaica, 15,000, comprised the top 10 countries of birth for newly naturalized citizens in 2017. These 10 countries have accounted for 52% of the 707,000 new citizens that fiscal year. Okay. Where do newly naturalized citizens live in the United States? In 2017, 57% of the newly naturalized lived in one of 5 states. California had the largest number of newly naturalized citizens with 22%, 157,000, followed by 12% in New York, that's 86,000, 10% in Florida, that's 70,000, 7% in Texas, 51,000, and 6% in New Jersey, 39,000. The top 5 metropolitan areas with the largest number of naturalizations were New York, Newark, New Jersey, Newark, Jersey City, 113,000, Los Angeles, Long Beach, 59,000, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, 45,000, Washington, Arlington, Alexandria, 30,000, and Chicago, Naperville, 23,000. These 5 metropolitan areas accounted for over a third, or 38%, of all naturalizations in FY 2017. How many green card holders are eligible to naturalize? According to the latest available DHS estimates, about 8.9 million of the 13.2 million green card holders residing in the United States on January 1, 2014 were eligible to naturalize. How long does it take on average for green card holders to naturalize? On average, immigrants held green cards for 8 years before becoming U.S. citizens in 2017, an average year longer than green card holders in 2016. The time varied by country of origin. African and Asian-born immigrants spent an average 6 years in LPR status before naturalizing, followed by those born in South America, 8 years, Europe, 9 years, Oceania, 10 years, and North America, which includes Central America, 11 years. In general, naturalization requires being at least 18 years of age, passing English and civic exams, and for most residing in the United States with LPR status continuously for at least 5 years, 3 years for those married to a U.S. citizen. Visa backlog, and I think this is the final one. Yes, it is. How many visa applications for permanent immigration green cards are backlogged? In February 2019, the U.S. government was still processing some family-sponsored visa applications dating to August 1995 and employment-related visa applications from August 2007. According to data on the petitions submitted to the State Department, there were about 3.8 million applicants, including spouses and minor children, who were on the waiting list as of November 1, 2018, the first time the backlog dropped in recent years. The overwhelming majority of backlogs were family-sponsored applicants, 3.7 million, which includes the principal applicant and their immediate family members. About 121,000 were employment-sponsored applicants and their families. Of the overall 3.8 million applicants, 1.2 million were citizens of Mexico, followed by those from the Philippines, 314,000, India, 299,000, Vietnam and China with 232,000 each, Family and employment-based prospective immigrants who are waiting to adjust their status to lawful permanent residence from within the United States are not included in the State Department estimate. USCIS also publishes backlog statistics, but only for petitions approved in one of the 5 employment-based categories. USCIS data show that close to 395,000 approved employment-based immigrant petitions were awaiting a priority date based on the May 2018 Department of State Visa Bulletin. The figure corresponds to the number of primary applicants covered by these petitions, but excludes their dependents. The MPI Knowledge USCIS did not publish backlog statistics on other types of green card applications the agency adjudicates. In other words, the overall number of people waiting for a green card within and outside of the United States is likely to be larger than 3.8 million reported by the State Department as of November 2018 and 395,000 reported by USCIS as of May 2018. Wow, that was a lot of information. I hope it was very useful for you. It was certainly interesting for me as I went through it.